Morning and welcome to Sailing Alison. My name's Steve. Today I'm going to be doing some electric work. I will be continuing with wiring up a second set of sockets that I started last week, which I didn't actually capture on video. I'm also going to find out what is wrong with the nav light that I installed last year, because I probably will need it as we get through towards autumn. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to climb the mast and I'm going to check over the steaming light and replace the current one, which is an old filament bulb, with a LED bulb. Hopefully that should sort that out. So I hope you stick with me today. This is where I got to with wiring up the new socket. So I've removed the old gas oven from here. And this is where I'm going to put my new cooking appliances. So this is a waterproof socket. Hopefully that should provide some protection in case of water entering the cabin. I'm going to have a couple of things here, and maybe if I get time, I'm going to mount like a gimbal here and put my induction hob on it. But I don't know. I don't think I'll get time to do that before I have to leave. So going inside this cupboard, I have run the cable through. Let's see if I can see where it is. Show you where it is. It's in here. So there you can see the cable coming in, and it runs to the other side of this cupboard. The problem is that I can't drill through this because I've got a flat bit, but I mean, you can see how far I've got so far. But cheap flat bits are not very sharp, and they don't stay sharp for long at all. So when you're going through something like plywood, where you've got the glue, which can blunt the blades very quickly, then you don't get very far. So I've ordered some high quality flat bits. Bosch do some, which I've got great hopes for. I'm just waiting for those to come. Once I've got the hole drilled, hopefully come through somewhere here, then I'm going to run the cable right under here, underneath the battery box, and then you can see there's a cable here which goes to the other sockets. So I'm going to put a junction box into that cable. And I can do that today because I've got one. I've only got a conventional house one at the moment, so I'm going to source a waterproof one, but I am going to do the work just to break into that cable and put a junction box in today. Here's the junction box. So there's a number of gaps in the side, and then everything connects into these three here. Simple enough really. You just have to make sure that you connect the same coloured wires together. I've lifted off this panel in what was the old quarter berth, and then down here is the cable. So I'm going to cut into that cable with my cutter, which is this here. It's a really good ratchet cutter, and then strip back the wires. I did make sure that I turned off the mains to that cable before cutting it, and as well as doing that, I also checked by plugging my kettle into this four-way, just to make sure that there was no power going to it. Right, I've stripped back the outer casing. You've got to be really careful when you do this not to nick the inner insulation, especially because you've got 240 volts running through these. I think I've done that, but yeah, just take your time when you're doing it. There doesn't seem to be an automatic tool that does this safely, so I just use my good old Stanley knife, what you Americans call a box cutter. So next bit is to strip off the ends, and for that I do actually have a tool. This is my wire stripper, which I've had since I was at university, so this is well over 30 years old now, but still does the job. Right, that's done now. This is the Ocean Flex low temperature mains cable. I decided I'm only going to do this once, so you might as well do it properly. Also, for those of you in the States where they have different colours, I can explain the colours here. So brown in the UK is live, blue is neutral, and green and yellow is the earth. But it doesn't really matter in this case, because all I'm doing is making sure that I connect the same colour to the same colour, and then you know, you really can't get it wrong. Here we go. Green and yellow to green and yellow, brown to brown, blue to blue. So I just need to move this around so that it goes into the gaps, put the cap back on, and then test. That's the top on. Interesting thing here, they have these like little marks that you can use to place the top depending on how many cables you've got going in and out. So at the moment I've got 2. You can see there's a little 2 with a line to say that they're kind of straight across, matches that one. And what that means is that you can see that these gaps are covered up by tabs. So it took me a while to figure out that that was what was going on, but that's what it is. Right, so next thing to do is to test. So the first big test is to turn this back on. So if this pops straight down, I've made a mess of it, because that means that the circuit breaker is going to function. So that's on. And then if I go over here, plug in the kettle, and it starts boiling. So that's great. The first job done. The second problem I've got is this light doesn't work. It's never worked. So the other light, this one, if you can see that does work. So what I need to do is check that I'm getting power to here. The only way to do that is actually to pull this joint apart, which is a bit annoying. I'm going to do that now. Right, managed to get it off. It looked like it's just not really, the joint wasn't made properly because it's just all pulled apart. So if I test this to see whether it works now, I've got plus and minus 12 volts here. So brown, unfortunately, should be red and black, but it's brown and blue. So brown is live, blue is not. So if I do that, you can see that the light actually works, which is great. So all I have to do now is wire it up properly. second job done. Just tidied it up at the back, so hopefully that'll keep it all waterproof for a while. Shit. Oh yeah. Oh, just replacing the bulb in the steaming light, that's all. But yeah, well that's the thing. I thought I could replace it with, you know, like an LED one with the same fitting, but it's slightly different to the one that I've got. So I'm gonna have to see if I found it. But I've just pretty dropped the cover into the harbour. Well, that could have gone better. First, the good news. So there is still power up to the steaming light, and with a bit of fiddling around, the old bulb did light up, so that's good. Not so good was the fact that the LED replacement that I thought would work doesn't. It doesn't quite fit. The difference is that the old bulb has got like a kind of an indentation in the top, whereas the LED bulbs have got kind of a cone shape, so they're the other way round. So I'm going to have to look and see if such a thing can be bought. Otherwise, I'm going to have to replace the whole unit with an LED version, which might be a better thing, but of course really difficult to do when you're up the mast. Second thing I did was I dropped the cover into the harbour. So where it's fallen in, I think there is like a mud bank. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to find it when the tide goes out this evening. But that's a real pain. There you go. So 2 out of 3 ain't bad, I suppose. So successfully having fished the cover out of the sea, and now these have arrived. So this is the new LED light. You can see that on the top, instead of being a cone, there's a dimple, and that was the difference between the light up there and the ones that we had. I've also, on the recommendation of the site, which was boatlights.co.uk, I've got this stuff which is supposed to stop corrosion. So it's in a little sachet, and also I have put on my work trousers
So I've got lots of pockets, which means that hopefully I won't drop anything into the sea this time. So I forgot the emery paper. Got everything except that. Lovely. Well, that's another job done. So I'm going to call it a day for this video, but yeah, despite having to go up and down the mast a lot more times than I really wanted to, and dropping things into the harbour and all of that, yeah, it's been pretty successful. So hopefully with that kind of non-conductive gel, I'm not going to have to fiddle with the steaming light for quite a while now. I'll see you later. So I've managed to get some new drill bits. They are Bosch Expert. Apparently they last 10 times as long as normal ones, so that should be pretty good, because the ones that I've been using go blunt pretty much on the first go round. So they come in this nice thing. This is apparently the top of the range Bosch, and they don't cost very much really, so yeah, let's see how they go. Well, that certainly made a difference. Took me about a second to finish drilling that hole. I mean, though these new bits are sharper than the other ones were when they were brand new, so yeah, massive difference. Good on you, Bosch. I've got it all run through and connected. Needs a little bit of tidying up, but I haven't got the right cable ties, so it goes through there. This is waterproof, so hopefully in the fullness of time, if they get any waves through, it'll just stop that moving. It's also like a strain relief, so it kind of stops the cable rubbing against the wood. It goes through and you can see it in there, and then it goes through under the battery and behind where the prop shaft runs. Comes out the other side of the battery there, and then it goes to this junction box which I've just wired in here. I'm going to do a waterproof version of this. This is just temporary. I have turned the RCD back on, residual current detector there, and it didn't immediately trip, which tells me that I've wired it up correctly. And then I've got to connect my drill in here. So this was the first one that worked, and then on the other side this is the new one I've wired in, and I've got the kettle running as well. So this is now going to be my galley area, getting the cooking going here. So yeah, pleased with that. So good job.